Hello friend, today I will discuss about the rise of British power in Bengal, the Battle of Plassey and the Buxar. So let's start with the Bengal. Bengal, as you know, it was the first kingdom to be occupied by the British in India. So British had a complete control over the Bengal, and Bengal gave a huge amount of wealth also to the British so that they fought a good battle against the French also, as you have seen in the Carnatic War and all. So it was the most fertile and the richest of India's province. The province was also well known for its textile, silk and saltpeter. So the land of Bengal gave a huge amount of revenue in terms of textile, silk and saltpeter. These were the important things which were produced and given by the Bengal. The East India Company carried on profitable trade with these province. So what happened? All these things, these kinds of products were taken by the East India Company, and for the profitable trade, it was used in the different market of Europe. The enormous resources of Bengal came in handy by for financing the British expansion. So you will understand that how these kind of a benefit that gave only the province of Bengal to the British, and it was one of the factor for the British expansion in India. Then next you will see that in 1717 C, the company had secured from Mughal Emperor Farooq Shiar a farman granting it to the right to carry on trade in Bengal without paying any duty to the government. But before that, you should remember in 1615, Sir Thomas Roe, he was the first Englishman to get the concession from the Mughal ruler Jahangir. Now, after 100 years, company again got the farman, that is a grant, a right to carry on trade, and that also free without any payment of taxes. By whom it was given? Farooq Shiar. So what benefit it was there, that they don't have to pay any taxes for the trading. But what happened here, the employees of the British trader, so what happened, they were doing their personal business and they were not paying the trade taxes as with the just connection to the farman, using the farman wrong, in a wrong sense, and they were doing the business and not paying any taxes to the emperor. So then the revenue was in a loss. So they also began to sell their passes to friendly Indian trader. The farman was perpetual source of conflict between the company and the Nawab of Bengal. So Nawab of Bengal got angry because the farman was being misused by the people, the English people, the employee of the British East India Company. So then Nawab lost revenue from trade. So whatever income Nawab was getting from the trade, that was a heavy loss which the Nawab was suffering. So more importantly, he protested against the misuse of dastak or permit by company servant who carried on private trade. So Nawab then protested, that means he started taking action against all those kind of a legal document, that is the dastak, it was provided, the permit, it is called a permit. So it was given to the company servant to carry on the private trade. So now Nawab just felt that the British East India Company is misusing all those kind of a farman and a dastak. Now we'll discuss about the Battle of Plassey. In 1756 C, Siraj-ud-Daulah succeeded his father Alivardi Khan as the Nawab of Bengal. So now there is a change of the Nawab. The throne of Bengal came in the hand of the Siraj-ud-Daulah. The English victory in Carnatic had already made Siraj-ud-Daulah apprehensive of the growing power of East India Company. Now what happened? The English victory, they got the victory over the France in the Carnatic Wars, all the three Carnatic Wars which we had earlier. I just explained you. So now Siraj-ud-Daulah was noticing how British East India Company was growing their power in India, and he wanted to curb their power. Curb their power means to stop this power to become more strong in India. So what happened next? Meanwhile, the English started fortifying Calcutta without obtaining permission from Nawab. So one mistake that British did. So now earlier they were just making the setup. They were making this kind of a center for trade. But now they started surrounding. Fortifying means making the boundary and making forts all over the area. So they started doing in Calcutta, and that also without taking the permission from the Nawab. This amounted to ignoring into his sovereign power. The infuriated Nawab marched to Calcutta and occupied the Fort William in June 1756. So what happened? Out of anger, Nawab got very angry because he never gave the permission to make such kind of a fort in the Calcutta. So Nawab with the army, the army just marched over and occupied the Fort William. They again took over the command of the Fort William. That is in 1756. So what happened? Most of the English soldiers fled to Fulta. After conquering Calcutta, Siraj marched back to Murshidabad. His success, however, was short lived. Robert Clive arrived with a strong military force and reconquered Calcutta at the beginning of 1757 CE. So, what happened after getting the victory over the Fort William? Siraj-ud-Daulah moved back to his kingdom, that is the Murshidabad. But after that, Robert Clive, the British governor, with a strong military force, they came back and reconquered Calcutta. So that means again he took over the command of Calcutta. So he compelled the Nawab to concede all the demands of the English, including the right to fortify Calcutta. So in what strong way Robert Clive put the things? He just made agreement with the Nawab. He pressurized Nawab to that he can do. He wanted to fortify Calcutta, and he got the permission to just make the forts and the boundary area to make more stronger point in Calcutta. The English, however, was not satisfied. They wanted to install puppet Nawab on the throne of Bengal. But even after getting the permission, English again wanted a puppet Nawab so that they can fulfill all their need from that Nawab. So Clive entered into the conspiracy with Mir Jafar, the commander of the Nawab's army. So what happened? Mir Jafar was a commander under the Siraj-ud-Daulah, and British made a tie-up that British just made a kind of a agreement that Siraj-ud-Daulah will be removed and Mir Jafar will be put on the throne. Such kind of a treaty, conspiracy was set up against the Siraj-ud-Daulah, and in return, Mir Jafar would pay a huge amount of money. So this only happened here. So the commander of Nawab army and other to overthrow the Siraj-ud-Daulah, Mir Jafar would be made the Nawab of Bengal in return to huge sum of money. So what happened next? The British now presented the Nawab with an impossible set of demand. So British made a huge demand which Nawab just denied, and for that reason both sides realized that war was inevitable. So the situation became very critical, and both the British and the Nawab, they were ready to fight, and the army was set up. Two armies met at the field of the Plassey. So now the place for the fight was Plassey, just over 20 miles south of Murshidabad on 23rd June 1757. So the place was set up and they were ready to fight. But what happened? There was a wrong fate with the Siraj-ud-Daulah, whose commander Mir Jafar, the person who should be the supporter of Siraj-ud-Daulah, became a conspirator and became a friend of British. So the fateful Battle of Plassey was a battle only in name. The major part of the Nawab's army under Mir Jafar took no part in the fighting. So the Mir Jafar has to support Siraj-ud-Daulah, but he never participated in fighting. The Nawab was forced to flee. So the Nawab was just made to run away, and he was captured and put to death by Mir Jafar's son Miran. So this is how this was the end of the Siraj-ud-Daulah in the Battle of Plassey. Coming to the result, the East India Company was granted the undisputed right of the free trade in Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. So now what happened after the death of the Siraj-ud-Daulah? The command came in the hand of Mir Jafar, as the British wanted the puppet. So now what happened? The Bengal, Bihar and Orissa, the free trade was given to Britishers. The company was given the zamindari of 24 parganas. So additionally 24 parganas were given to the British. The Battle of Plassey was made the English the virtual master of Bengal. So now overall the Britishers became more powerful, and what happened here, the vast wealth of Bengal was now in the hand of Britishers. These resources helped them to win the battle in the Carnatic. So we have seen how they were ready to these kind of resources were used in the battle, that is the Carnatic War. Mir Jafar was a puppet in the hand of English. The victory in the Battle of Plassey transformed May Trading Company into the political power. Now I'll just discuss about the result of Battle of Plassey one by one, so it will be quite helpful for you to understand what happened after the Battle of Plassey. Number one, you should remember, East India Company was granted the undisputed right to free trade in Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. So earlier there was a trouble for Britishers to have a free trade, but now after this Battle of Plassey, the Nawab Mir Jafar was a puppet, was a kind of a friend of a British. So now complete free trade was given, the right to trade in three area, that is Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. It was a quite big area. So you can understand how big amount of revenue will come in the hand of the Britishers. Number two, the company was given the zamindari of 24 parganas. So, and again after this kind of a free trade in Bengal, Bihar and Orissa, the 24 pargana, the zamindari, that is the right to collect the taxes, was given to the company now. Now instead of the people of Nawab, the British East India Company will collect a tax, the zamindari from 24 Pargana. Number 3, the wealth from Bengal helped British to fight against the French in Carnatic. So how these the extra amount of money which was now coming from Bengal, so now it helped the Britishers to get more to become more strong against the rival company, that is the French. Number 4, Mir Jafar was a puppet in the hand of English. So now the Britishers got the idea about the Indian ruler, and Mir Jafar, how out of selfishness he was helping and making the ground for the Britishers to become more strong. Number 5, lastly, the victory over Bengal, Plassey made the transformed the British from mere trading to political ruler. So you should understand, the East India Company were the small group of the people coming in India to have a trade, but now with the as their power raises with the amount of money, they are now becoming more political and they were interfering in the administration. So after this, the Battle of Plassey, what next happened is that Mir Jafar was a weak and inefficient ruler, so he was incapable, and all the power was used by the Britishers. So he had gifted a Jagir to Clive and rich present to others in the company in return of Nawabship. So we have seen how he got the Nawabship and he has given the power and the kind of a right zamindari to the Britishers. The treasury had become empty, and Mir Jafar was unable to meet the ever increasing demand of the company and its officials. So he was just giving out all sorts of income to the Britishers. So now Nawab himself was just feeling the crisis. There was no money left in the treasury. So Mir Jafar was deposed and his son-in-law Mir Qasim was put on the throne. So how long this Mir Jafar would fulfill the demand of the Britishers? Now money was not there. So Britishers, what they did, they removed Mir Jafar and they put the Mir Qasim, son-in-law of Mir Jafar, on the throne. Mir Qasim handed over the zamindari of, now what Mir Qasim gave in return of Nawabship, that they gave the zamindari of Bardwan, Mirdapur, Chittagong as a reward to the company. So the again a new land area, the right to get the zamindari, that is the tax collection, was given to the Britishers. The new area was what? Bardwan, Midnapur and Chittagong. Mir Qasim, we will discuss now about the Battle of Buxar. Mir Qasim was the last Nawab of Bengal who endeavored to reassert royal authority. So Mir Qasim, now when he came on the throne, so he tried to get back the royalty. What Nawab should get the dignity, respect by the all people, not only by the common but by the Britishers. So he made certain reform. To consolidate his power, he introduced several reform and organized a disciplined and well-equipped army trained by the Europeans. So he got in touch with the Britishers and he gave the training to his own people, standing army, so that he will be in a stronger point. To improve his finance, he attempted to check the misuse of dastak or by the company servant who carried on duty-free trade. So earlier we have seen how farman and dastak was being misused. So Mir Qasim tried to check all the misuse which were being used by the company official for the personal trade. This abuse ruined honest Indian traders through unfair competition and deprived the Nawab of large revenue. So what happened? Some of our Indian, a kind of a selfish traders, so they helped the Britishers in the misuse of the dastak. So it was again a huge amount of loss of revenue. Mir Qasim took a drastic step. So now he took a step, okay, against whom? The Britishers, of abolishing all duties on internal trade, thus putting English and Indian merchant on the same footing. So now earlier what benefit that the Britishers were getting? The free trade dastar. So now he made a standard for all Indian plus British together to pay the taxes. This made the English furious. So this made furious means angry. So all when he just abolished the pattern of dastak and farman, so English became angry. They could not accept this big loss and decided to overthrow him. So as Mir Qasim abolished dastak, so the Britishers took a decision to remove this Mir Qasim from the throne. In 1763, war broke out between Mir Qasim and English. So finally they got against, the war battle was just made, and in 1763 was defeated, escaped to Awadh. So the Nawab was defeated by the Britishers and he ran away from Awadh. Ran away to Awadh. Mir Jafar was reinstated to the throne. So what happened? Mir Jafar, who was earlier removed from the throne, was put back on the throne. Mir Qasim formed an alliance with the Nawab of Awadh and Shah Alam II, the Mughal emperor. The combined army was decisively defeated at the Battle of Buxar in 1764. and Mir Qasim fled. So finally what happened, when Mir Qasim ran away to Awadh, he got the help from the Nawab of Awadh and Shah Alam too. So all together they got in the battlefield of the Buxar in 1764, but unfortunately there was a defeat made by the Britishers and Mir Qasim had to run away. Coming to the result of the Battle of Buxar, the Battle of Buxar is one of the most decisive battle of Indian history. So we have to remark it as how Britishers were becoming more stronger and stronger. Okay, and he finally established the British as a master of the Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha. So they claimed themselves as a master over all these areas. So once again, I'll just remind you about the result of the Battle of Buxar. So you should remember, in the Battle of Buxar, who all were there to go against the British, and the year 1764. So what was the result finally? It finally established the British as a master of Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and gave them control over Awadh and Mughal emperor. So what happened here? The complete area, big area, now came in the hand of the Britishers, and they got a good amount of revenue from these areas. Then next point, second point, the coming of Mir Jafar as the Nawab sealed the fate of independent Nawabship in Bengal. So again, Mir Jafar was earlier also working as a puppet. Now after coming back to the throne, so now no Nawabship, that means the independent decision as the ruler of India were taking. So with this coming of Mir Jafar, the things got stopped, and the a kind of a development you can just think as what ruler are taking the decision regarding the kingdom, so that was not allowed. So Mir Jafar was complete a puppet of the British East India Company. The Treaty of Allahabad and grant of the Diwani by Shah Alam. So we will discuss right now about it. So in 1765 CE, the Treaty of Allahabad was signed by Clive is the governor of the British East India Company with Suja-ud-Dawla and Shah Alam too. So agreement was made. According to the terms of the treaty, Awadh was restored to Suja-ud-Dawla on payment of 50 lakh rupees to the company. So what happened after the Battle of Buxar, when the British East India Company got the victory, they came to the conclusion certain agreement what they have to give and take. So Awadh was again given to the Suja-ud-Dawla by the Britishers on payment of 50 lakh rupees. So the 50 lakh rupees were given to the company, and in return company gave back Awadh to the Suja-ud-Dawla. The district of Kora and Allahabad were taken away from Awadh. So though Awadh was given to the Suja-ud-Dawla, but the important district of Kora and Allahabad was in the hand of the company. In return, company promised to protect Awadh from the external threat. But in return, company also promised that whenever there will be the requirement of the British to help the Suja-ud-Dawla, they will come and help the the Suja-ud-Dawla in the battlefield. The district of Kora and Allahabad were given to the Mughal emperor. In addition, an annual payment of 26 lakh rupees was to be given to the emperor. So next what happened, the British made again certain changes, and they gave back this Kora and Allahabad to the Mughal emperor, and also they gave 26 lakh rupees. But in return, what the Mughal emperor have to give, they granted the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa, that is the right to tax. So this kind of taxation was the complete legal right, so they have to give to the company now. So this happened after this Battle of Buxar. The Diwani gave the company the right to collect revenue from these provinces. This marked the first step toward the direct administration of Bengal by the company. So earlier the Nawab had a control over the administration and the revenue collection of the Bengal, but now after this loss of Battle of Buxar, so the company got the direct control over these area. The company got the legal right to control Bengal. The puppet Nawab of Bengal continued to sit on the throne, but they had no military and administrative power. So the Nawab was for the namesake, they were just for the name the king, but all the power were being used by the company. We will discuss about the dual government in Bengal. It's important part, you should understand this also. In 1765 CE, a dual government was established in Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. Dual means two government in a common area. So what is it means actually? By virtue of the Diwani, the East India Company directly collected revenue from these area. So the right to tax, Diwani was given to the British East India Company. At the same time, the company enjoyed military power and criminal jurisdiction over these area. So at the same time means here, in the similar way, they were also using the military power, the army power they were using. So if the Bengal army were needed to fight in other places of India, so they had to use that. They can use the Bengal army, the Nawab's army. However, the administration of the kingdom was left in the hands of Nawab. Administration means all those kind of giving service to the people, that was left in the hand of Nawab. Nawab was the name for the name king, he will just look after the well-being of the people. Otherwise he has no right to collect the taxes, he has no right to give permission to the army to take his own decision regarding any fight or war battle. This arrangement was called dual government. So from one place two type of government is working, so that kind of a form is called dual government. Thus the Nawab was burdened with the responsibility of administering the country without the resource for running it efficiently. So the Nawab had a big burden. He had no money because all the money was being utilized by the Britishers. So without any finance, he has to look after his all kingdom and his people. The company which had control over the resources had no responsibility of administering the country. On the other hand, the Britishers who were having enough finances, good amount of finances, because the right to collect the money, taxes was in the hand of the Britishers. But what happened, they had no burden, no responsibility, so they were free, they had nothing to do with the people problem. Obviously the company was unwilling to spend the revenue it collected on the administration and welfare of the people. So thus you can understand how the dual government was being it happened in Bengal. The king was there, Nawab was there, but he had no power. All the power rests in the Britishers, and this kind of a government we call what, dual government in Bengal. Lastly, we will discuss about the drawbacks. This system of dual government resulted in utter misery for the people. So you understand, all the power, the money, finance was everything in the hand of the Britishers, and they were not at all giving service and facility to the poor people. So there was a big misery. The revenue official extorted money from poor peasants who were forced to starve. So the poor peasant had to pay the taxes directly now to the company, and they were forced, pressurized. The year 1770 CE witnessed the most severe famine of the country. So that time Bengal suffered a big a kind of a famine, and one third of the population perished. So one third of the population died out of the famine. At the time of Clive's departure to England, the British were no longer mere traders in Bengal. They were legally the rulers of the province. So when the Clive was called back by in the Britain, so by that time the Britishers were no more the company. Now they have become the political administrator or the ruler. On the other sense, you can say the ruler of the province. That's all. You can understand the, you can see the video and understand the chapter.